Welcome to Finance Friday on a Sunday, the 18th of April. It's Zimbabwe's Independence Day. Happy Independence Day, Zimbabwe. Congratulations to all my Zimbos, to all my Zimbabwe lovers, to all my Zimbabwe supporters out there. Wishing Zimbabwe all the best and all the prosperity going into the future. Last week, I talked about how we may do a series on personal financial management. That's on now. So in this video, I'm going to set about the context through which we should be going through the whole series. The ultimate aim of the series is to get you to live the life you want to live, a life of financial independence and goal realization. That's as specific as we can get at this stage, because human beings each have unique goals that they want to achieve out of their lives. It's a bit different from an organization where we can pretty much unify what an organization is trying to do to maximizing shareholder value. Well, at least that's what they should be doing. So yeah, we're going to do this by developing a framework that we can use every day, trying to bridge that gap between the knowledge we have around financial issues and ourselves and our everyday lives, right? It's also important that we have a framework we can use on a daily basis, because life goes through a series of events for us to get to where you were going. We do not necessarily ordinarily just go from 0 to 100 to achieving our goals. So I think it's quite important that we develop a framework that is applicable on a daily basis. It is also a great thing if we can get ourselves to be a bit more financially literate and a bit more financially dexterous as we move through the series. So I would really want to start by looking at money in the larger context of our lives. Money in itself is a tool, or I view money as a tool. It should be a tool. It's a means to an end. It's not the end in itself. So it is very important that we take that context as we go in, and then we then get to a critical point where we say, what are your life goals? Why are you alive? It's something that you need to really figure out. What motivates you? Maslow has created a framework of human motivation, starting from your general chow all the way to self-actualization. So you've got your food, your safety, your belonging, your esteem, and your self-actualization. It's a framework that we could probably use to develop and understand the goals that we want to achieve. It's not necessarily the only framework, but it's one that's quite easily applicable. And we can also look at probably the World Happiness Report. There are a lot of insights there around the link between happiness and money. And pretty much what we can get from that is, up to a certain stage of income, as you're going from a low income base to a certain level, an increase in income actually has quite significant impact on your happiness. But then that should be expected, right? If you cannot cover your food and the like, you're probably not going to be quite happy. But then once you have those covered, it's not necessarily the case that more money will result in more happiness. So you then see that other things actually start kicking in. Like, is your work meaningful? Are you contributing to society? Are you in a society that you feel is right for the type of person you are, and that type of thing? You also have things around trusting your macro environment kicking in there, which do not necessarily have a lot to do with the amount of money in your pocket, although how you manage money can seriously influence that. It is also very important to realize that you cannot have your financial situation happen to you, because if whatever financial situation you're in is happening to you, you run the risk of living an unfulfilled life, of spending a lot of time and effort trying to cover the basics, and probably falling into the victim trap of, life is hard. I was living in country X. The environment was so unpredictable, and I couldn't do X, Y, Z. So it's quite important that you become financially literate, or you improve your level of financial literacy, and you actually plan to achieve the things you want to achieve. You do not necessarily have to wait until you have $1 million for you to take your family on holiday, for instance. So once we look at that, which is very important, I've tried to put a lot of emphasis around probably the philosophy of why you're alive and what you want to achieve out of your life, because understanding that will be quite critical in then forming your financial goals and then going after them in the context of actually understanding why that matters in the context of your life. Okay, so in preparation for the series, I think you need to outline to some reasonable extent what you want out of your life. By some reasonable extent, I mean there should be some form of detail to actually say this is my reason for existing. These are the things I want to achieve. You need to understand why, and then we can then start building a financial strategy around that to actually get you to achieve those goals. It is also quite important to outline to some reasonable extent your status quo and the tools you have at your disposal. So your status quo is your age, your level of education, the amount of money you have, the debt you have, and the like. You should be clear to some reasonable extent where you are around those things, and probably some major financial expenditures and the like that you have going forward or you may anticipate, and then also the tools you have at your disposal in order to meet those goals, right? Your tools are your education, your network, and so forth and so forth, whatever assets you may have. And the other thing you need to do, if you don't already do this, is to start tracking your spending habits, just so you have some form of reporting framework. It's quite important that you have a sense of how you behave around money and with money right now. So with that, we should be ready for the next video, which should be next week. If I'm doing the personal financial management series, I'll have that at the top of my slides. If it's Ordinary Finance Friday, then I'll be answering the questions that I have. Because the series, I'd actually need to be creating content that I think helps build on the framework we've set out right now. Okay, this coming Thursday, the 22nd, I think, at 1800 hours, I'm going to be hosted by Kudzai Chaka on her live podcast called Compliance Conversations. We're going to be talking financial wellness. Those are the two links for you to watch live on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm sure later on she'll post the video on YouTube, and then I'll share that link. So you're invited to come through and show support for Compliance Conversations. Listen to the conversation we have. It promises to be quite interesting, and hopefully you get something of value out of it. All right, so I'll see you on Thursday live at 1800.